call.
Helen Walker.
Present.
Elizabeth Taylor. Richard Richardson.
Present.
Kathy Bowles.
Present.
Mike Yancho.
Here.
Russ Perkins. Liza Gulliver.
Present.
Sandra Murphy. Casey Clark.
Please let the minutes reflect that we do have a quorum of members present for this meeting. Our next item of business is the approval of the minutes from our February 5th meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say A.
A.
Any noes, nays? Any abstentions? The minutes are approved. Over the past 4 months, the task force has conducted an assessment of the current state of services for elderly individuals in the Genesee County, Michigan. This assessment has included a series of presentations, including an in-depth presentation of the historical and current structural operations surrounding the programs and services funded by the Genesee County Senior Service millage dollars. This presentation further outlined the various community entities receiving funding and the specific services provided by those agencies and the metrics required for continued funding. Secondly, a presentation by the Valley Agency on Aging outlined the various services offered to senior population of Genesee County. This presentation further depicted which services are funded by millage dollars and those services funded by other external funds. This presentation assisted the members of the task force to better understand the blending of funding that currently occurs to provide programs and services to seniors in our community. Most recently, there was a presentation by the Greater Flint Health Coalition on the needs of seniors and the community collaboration efforts to address those needs. A second presentation on the needs of seniors in the state of Michigan data was extrapolated from the Michigan poll on healthy aging executed by the University of Michigan Ann Arbor campus, and a third presentation by the State of Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Bureau of Aging, Community Living, and Supports on the current and projected needs of Michigan's senior population and the state's initiative to address those needs. Today, we will be completing our assessment process with presentations from various community stakeholders who are funded by the senior millage dollars. While the operational design of the task force did not accommodate public comment, the opportunity for these presentations was purposely created to assure that our community stakeholders had a voice in this process. We have asked these community stakeholders to provide us with written documentation depicting their perceptions of unmet needs and gaps in services to the senior population of Genesee County, with an oral summary of those perceptions and needs being presented today. We have asked the task force to review the written material provided by our stakeholders prior to this meeting, and now we'll begin hearing on oral comments. Based on the large number of stakeholders receiving millage funding, we have asked them to limit their oral comments to 2 minutes, a standard utilized by the Genesee County Board of Commissioners at their meeting. I will now ask Derek Bradshaw to further clarify this process.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as people come up, there'll be a timer that'll be on that screen in front of you. There's timers on all the screens. It'll start at 2 minutes. There'll be a small audible warning at the end of the 2 minutes. We just ask to wrap it up at that point, just so we can get to the next person. And then we also have a list of people that have requested to speak from each of the service providers. And Gwen, do you want to raise your hand? Gwen has that list. If you're one of the service providers that has not signed up and you still want to sign up, talk to Gwen and she'll add you to the list. Just keep in mind that we have time for one representative from each of our 30-some service providers. Does that make sense? Okay. And then I can call people up by name. That way you don't have to stand and line up. And if we're ready to go? Yes? Okay. So our first speaker is going to be Jean from the Burton Senior Center.
Good afternoon. I'm Jean Johnson from the Burton Senior Activity Center. I've been the director there for nearly 29 years. So I've been there for a long time, and I just wanted to express that I've been hearing a lot of separation between service providers and senior centers, and we have really never been separate. We all work together to bring the best senior services that we can in Genesee County. Long before the millage passed, we were that way, and we continued through the millage. We provide an excellent, I'm very pro senior center, but I am also very pro of our senior services. All of us working together have brought some of the very best senior services in the state of Michigan. I think, and I'm very proud of that. I do want to comment on a couple of things. In the paperwork that I've seen, most of it has listed as showing how many people we serve at the senior center using our unduplicated number. That's how many people come through our doors one time. We can only count them once in the fiscal year. So for last fiscal year, ours was 1,447. That's individuals that came through. But our duplicated number, which is really what shows much better what we do, that was 32,440 people. Of that, we did 2,520 were social services. 7,985 were nutritional services. 5,471 were health and fitness. So, and on gaps in our service, when we first originally put the millage together, the group that did that before it came to the county, we had envisioned having social workers that were embedded in the senior center doing kind of like how we do legal services, where they gave us time, we made appointments and saw people in the center where they felt comfortable. I would like to see that happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want me to keep? Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have Seth from Legal Services of Eastern Michigan.
I actually have a handout. Thanks. If you guys could just, at your leisure, take a look at that, because 2 minutes isn't really a lot of time for me to get much information to you guys. Let me know when you're ready.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. When I started here at Legal Services, there was just myself and one assistant paralegal. We were only visiting a limited number of senior centers for half days worth of appointments. The majority of clients that came to see us were seeking estate planning documents, such as wills, ladybird deeds, and power of attorney documents. Word started to spread around, and people found out that they could obtain high-quality legal assistance at no cost to them, and that demand began to grow. Soon, we were working at maximum capacity, and the team that manages the senior millage funding recognized the impact that we were having, and they increased our funding, which allowed us to expand. Today, we serve 15 senior centers in the county on a monthly basis, with a lot of those being full days' worth of appointments. As of today, some of these centers are backed up for 6 months waiting to get in for their appointment to see us. In the 15 years I've been working here, I've seen thousands of clients. The work my team and I have done has lessened the docket of the probate court, as well as made the jobs for the clerks at the Register of Deeds and other governmental organizations go smoother because we have the people prepared prior to their coming. We work in tight connection with them and many other community organizations to try to help seniors get their affairs in order and their legal issues resolved. I've been told numerous times by clients that the level of service they received at Legal Services was vastly superior to the service they received from private bar members, which they had to pay for. There is still a huge untapped need for seniors to have the legal assistance that we provide. This is demonstrated by the amazing number of clients that we serve every year and the wait times I referenced that the seniors that people are experiencing to come see us. There are 2 new senior centers here in the city of Flint who have reached out to us to request our assistance. At this point, we don't have the funding or the staffing to accommodate that, but we would certainly love to do that. The peace of mind that our service brings to senior citizens in Genesee County is immeasurable. End of life can be very emotional and intimidating time. Knowing that things are set up properly for the people they're leaving behind, and that if they need help when they're unable to manage their own affairs, that the right people will be able to do what needs to be done is tremendously valuable to our senior clients. 2 minutes is not nearly enough to give you guys the full picture, so I hope you'll take time to review the handouts that I provided and consider the impact that Legal Services has on our senior citizens. Thank you.
Next up, we have Yashika from the Valley Area and Aging. No? Okay. Kelly from Forest Township. Okay, going down my list. Greg, Flushing Area Senior Center. You can move that podium up a little.
This up a bit, thank you.
Side, Gwen will take care of it.
Thank you so much, Gwyneth. Perfect, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today and to share the unmet needs of seniors in our community. Before addressing those needs, I'd like to briefly highlight the scope of services currently provided by the Flushing Area Senior Center. Each month, the center offers 50 events, classes, and programs, and approximately 90% of them have no out-of-pocket cost to participants. These programs support seniors' physical health, social engagement, and overall well-being. During the 24-25 year, the center served 1,888 seniors aged 60 and over, with over 25,000 program participations and more than 79,000 hours of engagement. All this supported by a team of 3 staff and 40 dedicated volunteers. The center operates as a level 3 facility and was eligible for up to $206,330 in reimbursement funding last year. However, the funding is capped and served a required minimum 1,000 seniors within the 6 months. While we served nearly 1,900, funding did not increase to reflect those additional participants leaving the center to observe the costs of serving almost 900 additional seniors. To better understand the community needs, we recently conducted a survey that showed strong demand for expanded programming, particularly exercise and wellness classes, educational lectures, arts and crafts, social activities, day trips, and technology training. These results show the seniors want to stay active and engaged. Over the past year, the City of Flushing provided additional space after the library relocated. While this creates opportunities for expanded programming, preparing space required about $60,000 in renovations funded by the center, and additional operating costs expected to be at $20,000 annually. I'm just going to jump right into my closing. We're at a critical juncture right now at the Senior Center. The bottom line is we are growing, and our members want more, and quite frankly, we can't afford to pay for it all without asking them to pay or find other additional ways of funding. I strongly encourage this task force to advocate for additional time in making a recommendation. I would also urge you to take advantage of Michigan State University's offer to collaborate on an independent, objective study that includes a cost and value analysis of all stakeholder services measured against performance standards established by our Department of Senior Services. Doing so would help ensure any decisions moving forward are thoughtful, data-driven, and in the best interests of all seniors within the county. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Lisa from the Alternative Elderly Care.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to.
Hold on, she's gonna move it down a bit for you.
A little short, sorry. Perfect, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today. Okay, can you hear me okay? Alternative Elderly Care has proudly been servicing seniors in Genesee County for more than 20 years. Through our private duty work and work under the senior millage, we have had the privilege of working alongside many dedicated providers. Together, these programs and providers create an important network of support for our senior population. However, despite this strong network, significant gaps remain, particularly for our homebound seniors. These individuals are often the most vulnerable members of our community. Many are low income, socially isolated, and lack access to basic communication tools like phone and internet. They cannot attend these meetings. They cannot advocate for themselves or fully even understand what services are available by providers or centers. These are the seniors who quietly fall through the cracks, and when they cannot speak for themselves, we must speak for them. The greatest need we consistently see, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years, is support that allows seniors to remain safely in their homes. Aging in place requires real hands-on assistance, including personal care, homemaking services, transportation, in some cases guardianship. While these services are funded through the senior millage, the funding does not always match the level of need. Homemaking services is limited to light duty, while most require intensive services due to hoarding, long-term neglect, or physical limitations. These situations demand additional time and labor that current funding does not fully support. Moving forward, our time, resources, and funding must focus on closing these gaps, particularly for the homebound and isolated senior population. Preventative in-home services are not a luxury. They protect the health, dignity, and independence of the senior while preventing far more costly hospitalizations and long-term care placement. By sustaining and strengthening funding for these programs with the service providers, Genesee County can ensure that our most vulnerable residents are safe, healthy, and connected to the community while also protecting taxpayer dollars. Let us commit to a future where no senior is left unseen, unheard, or without essential care, where our community measures success not just in budgets, but in the dignity and well-being of its citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Karen from Crapo Senior Center.
Good afternoon. I just want to say that over doing this paper, I really feel that senior centers are service providers. We provide a lot of services that we are unable to count in our activity report. We do all the others, education, we're like Jean, have thousands of people that come, but I'm more concerned with people needing more and more help. Lisa just talked about aging in place. We are all promoting aging in place, and I get more and more people in that need assistance. Taxes is one thing. I don't know if anybody else is having trouble, but getting your Social Security account takes a long time, and we stop and do that. We have people who, when I was leaving, a man wanted our office clerk to help him pay a bill because the person on the other end of the phone couldn't understand him. So we do all that in addition to our classes that we do, our meals. We have a greenhouse, we have a wood shop, we provide transportation, so we do everything, and all of us are different. I am a small senior center. I have a small building compared to people who have brand-new ones, which I'm jealous of. But I think that the aging in place, and again, I've been around for a lot of years, and I'd like to see us, there is some kind of something going on between service providers and senior centers. And I would like us to get back to being able to work together more. I refer people, we have an attorney that comes every week. If he can't help, I refer to, he refers to legal services. It's just unfortunate, and I feel that we've come to this point when we all need to work together. Thank you, and if any of you want to come to the center, you are more than welcome. Getting ready to open the greenhouse, so I'm glad to sell you plants.
Thank you.
Next up is Brooke from the Family Service Agency.
Just start?
Sure.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Brooke Gow. I'm the Executive Director of Family Service Agency. So I'm just going to give you a summary of what I submitted. And this summary highlights how Family Service Agency addresses critical needs among older adults through 3 key programs: our Senior Medical Transport Program, Visual and Hearing Impairment Program and Support, and free adult guardianship services for seniors. So number 1, unmet needs for seniors. We are directly fulfilling several major unmet needs for seniors in Genesee County. These include all-encompassing medical transportation for homebound seniors, access to hearing aids and free hearing aids and visual impairment supports that are not covered by insurance, and completely free guardianship services for seniors who cannot safely manage their own affairs. These programs remove significant barriers that prevent vulnerable seniors from accessing healthcare, communication supports, and legal protection. We are the only organization in the area providing all 3 of these services completely free without prejudice or cost for all qualifying seniors in Genesee County, which you have to be over the age of 60, live in Genesee County, and have this need. Number 2, underserved needs for seniors. Many homebound seniors remain underserved because they are not yet aware of these services and that they exist, or they do not have the ability to seek them out independently. Isolation, mobility limitations, and lack of family or community support even prevent these older adults from learning about available programs. Continued outreach, partnerships with agencies like the VAAA, healthcare providers, and community organizations are essential to ensure that most vulnerable seniors are aware and connected to these services. Number 3, gaps in services for seniors. The most significant gap, like many others in services, is the funding capacity to meet our demand. Every single one of my senior millage programs has supplemental grants to support their purpose. I write about 20 grants a year to keep these programs going and host fundraisers. Due to this limited funding, we are forced to maintain wait lists and turn away eligible seniors who need more immediate assistance. However, together, these programs, they provide a vital safety net that helps older adults maintain their health, their independence, and dignity while remaining at home safely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Dawn from Benson.
Good afternoon. My name is Dawn Neiman. I'm the Director of Nursing from Benson's Nursing and Staffing, and we currently provide Genesee County seniors with in-home personal care and homemaking service and respite services as well. One thing we repeatedly hear from our seniors is a desire to stay at home as they age. Being able to maintain at home always keep them independent with dignity and their connection to the community where they live. These services funded through the senior millage make this possible by helping seniors with basic daily needs like bathing, grooming, meal preparation, and maintaining a safe home environment. These challenges is that the demand of these services continue to grow. Today we have over more than 250 seniors are on a wait list for these programs. There's a clear gap between the senior's strong desire to age at home and ability to access the support needed to make it possible. For more of them, this assistance is essential. With supporting seniors often try to manage these daily activities on their own despite declining mobility, strength, and health. Many begin skipping their baths, struggle to prepare meals, or unable to maintain a safe home. Over time, this can lead to falls, declining health, and preventable hospitalizations. When services are unavailable, many seniors are placed in assisted living or skilled nursing facilities. Our vulnerable seniors who live alone without nearby family support often depend entirely on these services to remain safe. Low and moderate income seniors cannot afford private pay, home care, which can cost up to thousands of dollars per month. Family caregivers also experience significant strain, and respite services are often what allows them to continue caring for their loved ones. For many seniors, these programs are the difference between remaining safely in their homes or losing their independence. Supporting these programs helps ensure that the seniors in our community can continue aging where they most want to, at home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Bob from St. Luke.
Good afternoon, task force members. Thank you for having us here. My name is Bob Nelson. I'm the Director of Operations for the St. Life Center. We provide the lawn care and snow maintenance program through the Genesee Senior Millage. As of this year, we're at 228 seniors receiving weekly lawn care, as well as 138 receiving snow maintenance during the snow season. I did not feel that this was a controversial thing, but I was wrong. So, as far as answering questions, I gave you the summary. I think that everybody should have a copy of everything that we submitted. A lot of the times when I think about needs for seniors, I think about my 79-year-old mother, right? So the things that have benefited her the most by being part of Genesee County have been the support services available to her through Genesee County, as well as those provided to my disabled sister. They live together. My sister receives caretakers through Valley Area on the Aging, right? My mother's health care is supplied through PACE, another senior service here in the area. So anytime we address unmet needs, I really think about the seniors, right? Because of my mother. All of the questions that she asked me, right? The fact that she had to have cataract surgery. Who's going to take her to those appointments? So they need support, they need caregivers, they need medical attention, right? So all of those things can be provided through the senior millage, right? My mother is antisocial. I will say that very loud, very publicly. She is antisocial. She doesn't want to go do the social aspects of anything. She just wants to make sure that her health care is taken care of and we can leave her alone, right? So those are the kinds of unmet needs that I think about, right? Any other supports for those? Especially, my big thing is advocacy, right? If we can have seniors that have advocates, they can have trusted advocates. Financial services are another big one. We hear a lot about that. I've had to stave off quite a few of those things for my mother. But thank you for your time today. If there's anything else, please feel free to reach out and let me know.
Thank you.
I want to ask Bob, do you want to be my son also?
If I were to take applications, there would be quite a long list. So thank you for that, Mrs. Steele. I
There's a
appreciate it.
wait list.
Okay, next up, we have Mickey from Michigan Community Services.
Hi, I already sent you guys a letter that outlined everything we do, so I don't want to waste time on that. What I want to do is just share a couple stories with you. First thing I want to tell you is about a gentleman named Joe. Joe served in Vietnam, came home, and he was a fireman, continued his life of service, retired as retired fire chief in one of our local municipalities. I met Joe when he was about 65 years old when he started attending our senior adult daycare because he suffered from early onset dementia. And when he was at our program, he basically paced all day, picked things up, set him down, mumbled, couldn't carry on a coherent conversation. And it got to the point he really needed a one-on-one staff, which we weren't equipped to do. So we kind of made the decision we were going to have to discharge him. So I'd called his spouse and had his wife come in, and she sat down, and I just, said, "How you doing?" Something I say to 100 people a day probably, and she lost it. And she just started sobbing, and she told me the story, how they were high school sweethearts, and they'd been married for 40-some-odd years, and now she just had this husband she barely recognized. And how now she didn't sleep. The only time she slept is when he was at our program, because during the night she woke up one night and he was halfway down the road. Another night she woke up and he was out trying to start the car. And so next thing I said to her was, well, I just wanted to tell you we're going to keep working with him as long as we can. And so I had to go back to my team and say, guess what, guys, we're not discharging him, not after that story, right? So that was one story. The other story I want to tell you is about a gentleman I met in his early 50s, and we used to provide senior respite to his mom. And he told me how it saved his dad's life. And I said, your dad? And he said, well, yeah, my dad was gonna have a heart attack from the stress of trying to care for her. And then something else he told me, he didn't know this till later. His dad was grocery shopping 5 days a week because he could get in there and he'd go in for about 10 minutes, 7 minutes in the store, 3 minutes to check out and get back, because what he was doing is locking his wife in the car because he didn't know what else to do with her. The last 2 times she'd been at Beaky's, she'd cleared out a display, and one time she walked off. And so that's how he was grocery shopping now. And then he told me how his dad called him one day at work, and he was in a meeting, and he had to step out, and he's like, Dad, what's going on? Is everything okay? And his dad says, oh yeah, everything's great. Guess where I'm at? He's like, well, I don't know, Dad. You sure? Everything's fine, right? Everything's okay. You know, his heart's going a mile a minute. And he says, yeah, but guess where I am? He's like, I don't know. And he says, well, there's a worker at home with your mom. And so I'm at Tim Hortons, and I got a cup of coffee and a donut, and I'm watching Sports Center. And so he said, you know, I went back in this meeting, and my eyes are puffy and red because my dad had a few moments of normalcy because mom was able to stay there at home. And so that's the seniors that we serve, the in-home people, the invisible people. And I just hope you'll kind of consider that. When I said we serve 1,000 people, I could tell you 998 more stories like that. You know, and when I said that everybody we serve is a multiple, because everybody we serve, there's a spouse, there's a child, there's somebody else that's behind them. So thank you for your time. I just hope you'll consider those things.
Thank you.
And then I know, is somebody from G-Card here? Perfect.
Hello, my name is Siobhan Wilborn. I am the program manager for G-Card's Nutrition Services Program, filling in for Pamela Coleman, our director. So rather quickly, our G-Card currently receives funding for our county seniors through VAAA and millage through the Office of Senior Services. Last fiscal year alone, we were able to serve 325,000 home-delivered meals and an additional 34,000 congregate meals at our local senior centers. Partially due to the government shutdown and the unsurety of our federal government, our allocation from VAAA was significantly cut for this particular fiscal year. However, last year, the Office of Senior Services was able to step in and assist with funding to continue our congregate meal program at the senior centers, and additionally have stepped in to purchase vehicles, which helps me retain employees. It's hard when our mobile meal drivers have to drive their own vehicles. The price of insurance in this state is ridiculous. Gas is going up right now today every minute. And so those are some of the unmet needs that all of the funding helps. And right now, roughly there are 200 seniors on the wait list that is housed at VAAA. And that's not just for meals, but a multitude of services. Home repairs, homes are falling apart all across the county, and it's expensive to maintain everybody's home. In-home health services, transportation, all the things are all unmet needs in the county. We know that there's not enough dollars for everybody, but we ask that everyone have a fair shake to make sure that all of our seniors, as many as we can, are taken care of. Thank you.
That is the last speaker.
The last speaker. Okay, that was, I've been informed that was our last speaker. So I'd like to turn to the task force now.
Yashika just walked in for VAAA. Do you want to?
Okay.
We can give you a couple seconds.
We can give her more than that.
Oh, it's okay. My apologies. I was under the impression that this was for people to speak about unmet needs who had not already presented. So my apologies. I'm actually doing packets to go to DC to advocate for funding for seniors, so I had to run down here. Whew. Hi, my name is Yashika Albert.
Just
I
a
am
couple things.
President and
if you
CEO
wanna-
of Valley Area Agency on Aging.
You have a couple minutes once the timer goes off. If-
Okay.
And part of the reason I'm talking is so you can catch your breath as well.
Not gonna happen, I was rushing too much.
And
But it's
then-
okay, I know the stuff in my sleep because.
And then once the timer goes off, if you can just sum up at that point.
Okay.
right? So it's not like last second, right?
Yep.
Go ahead, you're fine.
Okay, so, as presented before, when the last time I spoke about a month ago, the unmet needs continue to kind of be pretty same for, now you gotta remember, we serve homebound seniors. We don't serve the seniors that can go out to senior centers. So the unmet needs include, nutrition is a big one, home delivered meals. Case management remains an unmet need because if you have a wait list, you can't access the services if you do not have case managers to go out there to do the assessment, to do the care plan, to arrange for the services, and to monitor the services, and to do the reassessments to make sure the person qualifies, hasn't gotten sicker, things of that nature. Transportation remains a big need in our county. Was nutrition care, information and assistance, because you often hear that people say, I don't know where to call. And assistance for caregivers. That would include education, training, programs, respite, which is giving the caregiver a break, in-home respite, and adult daycare. And I believe those are the top 4 or 5 unmet needs in our area. Personal care, homemaking, giving a person a bath, things of that nature, in-home services in general. Anything, those are the basic needs that remain unmet and that we have wait lists for currently. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the past, when we've had presentations, the task force sometimes has questions. In that case, we've asked for a written follow-up from the particular individual that was presenting. Is there any questions that anyone has for further information on what was presented today? As I mentioned earlier, we're sort of like a lambda moment in which we're switching from the assessment portion of our work to that of forming recommendations. And we need to sort of develop a process in which we're going to develop these recommendations. Keep in mind that if we look at our timeline that was given to us by the Board of Commissioners, that on June 1st, we will be submitting a written document to them. I anticipate that we would want to review that document, so that would bump the review process of that document up to May. So it leaves April for us to do these formal recommendations. I've asked to include today a document which I'm throwing out for discussion. It's not written in stone. I'd like input from the committee. And what it is a format in terms of trying to develop our formal recommendations. When we originally look at the plan that was given to us by the Board of Commissioners, they asked for prioritization. Sandra and me have discussed when we were putting this month's agenda together that we feel very uncomfortable with developing prioritizations in terms of what we see in terms of recommendations. How does the rest of the committee feel? I'm throwing it out for discussion.
Can you explain that again, priorities versus recommendations?
Yes.
What is your thought process on that?
Originally, we were told to develop a set of recommendations and then to prioritize those recommendations. And I personally feel, and I think Sandra has also felt, the fact that we've been given so much information that we've tried to look over that type of information, and we feel at best that maybe what we can come up with is a set of recommendations. The second step is how to prioritize those is something that I think would be much more difficult for us to do in the terms of the timeline. Remember that we have one more meeting to develop the recommendations themselves. Where will we stand in terms of trying to prioritize those? Do you want to add to the discussion?
Am I on?
You're on, I
No.
think, no? Okay.
Now I'm on, okay. My thought about this was when I first started, I thought of prioritizations of how much funding for this and how much funding for that and which the top need versus what's the bottom. And I just don't feel like I can do that, given the time that we've had and the fire hose of information that we've received. It's pretty clear to me, all of these things are needed. So I'm advocating that we talk about recommendations, and I would urge you to think about systemic recommendations, those that are the larger, broader administrative maybe issues that even brought us to this place today. But certainly, any of you could say, I think homebound services, my recommendation is that homebound services should be the top prioritization. You could do that as individuals. And then as a group, we're going to have to look at all of these recommendations and sort of synthesize them down to try to have consensus. And my goal would be, as we said in our mission statement early on, we want to get consensus. What should be the formal or the last list of recommendations that goes to the county commissions? Now, you know, as Richard has said, the two of us have talked about this with staff. That's why you guys pay us the big bucks, of course. That's what we've been doing in between meetings. So but we're wanting to hear from you because you've been sitting here just as we have been sitting here, hearing all of this, and you all are coming from your own caring heart about what you want to do for seniors. So, what are your thoughts about that?
So we would list like a top 5, top 10, top 9, whatever, but in no particular order. So like, here are our recommendations, but they're not in any particular order. This is where we feel the greatest need is, but they're not in any particular order.
Correct. And also added to this form is a potential volume, potential risk assessment. So we're looking at, does that particular recommendation, will it serve high volume, high risk, low volume, high risk, to sort of stratify in terms of, even though we can't prioritize to give the commissioners themselves the fact that we've looked at it in terms of risk.
And so then that should give them another approach to areas that we feel are, bigger bang for the buck, but we're not really prioritizing it that way.
Correct. When I reflect on what we've done over the past 9 months or so, is the fact that we've had a lot of presentations, but we've not been able to sit down and talk as a task force per se. I think, and there needs to be that discussion. Like Sandra said, we all come from different backgrounds, we have different perspectives, and we need to try and honor that and include that in terms of coming to consensus. But then we need to have one straightforward set of recommendations so that we have a document finished and delivered to the Board of Commissioners.
I have a few questions. I'm new. I'm a replacement to the task force. So going back to the county commissioners and their request, what was a particular reason that they wanted this document by June 1st?
Budgeting.
When is their budget due?
I have no idea, but that's one reason why I think, but the other may just be that they thought that this would be enough time. Yes.
Yeah, they needed to put a time limit on it.
So could we, because we are running short on time, I guess, is what I'm hearing, can we ask for an extension to that date?
That could be a recommendation.
And I want to speak to the prioritization. There's probably a reason why the commissioners asked for a priority list, is because we would just drop a bunch of recommendations into their lap, and if they don't hear priorities from us, that makes their decision that much more difficult. So I would speak to the, my feeling would be that we would need to prioritize any list that we give them.
So what's happening with Michigan State? Where are we on that?
To my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Derek, is that there has been dialogue between Michigan State University, the School of Public Health, which is now located here in Flint. The Charles Stewart Mott Foundation brought the School of Public Health here during the water crisis, the Flint water crisis. And so they have a physical presence in this community. It's my understanding they want to do a research study. I don't know if that's been defined in terms of what is going to be included. Is it going to be an additional needs assessment? Is it going to be looking at the impact of services on the population? Is it, you know, I don't know where that's coming from. And I also feel very strong that whatever Michigan State University does, that this model that they should use is a community participatory research model. And that in which would include stakeholders, it would include the community, rather than a group of academics going out and doing a research study and then taking that initiative and publishing articles. You know, my background, part of my background is from academia. And there was this saying, you know, publish or perish. You have to get so many articles out every year to maintain your status in terms of how you were deemed in terms of being a professor.
So that could be a recommendation, right?
Traditionally, you know, universities have been, and I think rightly, accused of coming into communities and looking at communities and using that as a resource for that initiative. It needs to be a different model, and the model is that a community participation in which there is stakeholders' involvement, that the stakeholders define what the specific research questions are, what are the specific research focus is going to be, and that there is some benefit that that research feeds back to the community itself. It's not just a one-sided investigation.
So let me talk about where that process is right now specifically. They have not submitted a proposal to the county board for that yet. They're really just in the investigative, you know. And the thought is, you know, we've got a lot of information that was given to us, right, on the needs. But, you know, having them dig a little deeper into that and what that looks like, they have not submitted a proposal yet.
So does that mean we're not going to be, I mean, that was my question, is are we going to be using them? And so we're not?
I
or
was
we are,
personally going to put a proposal that they do engage Michigan State University School of Public Health to look at, but also in terms of this model in which there is community involvement in terms of defining what the research focus will be, what are the research questions going to be.
Yeah.
I think that should be given to the community.
Well, that was my conversation real quick with Dr. Rick when he was here 2 meetings ago. That's what they usually do. That's my understanding of what they do here in Flint traditionally, is involve the community and the stakeholders. And I didn't know what the turnaround time was in terms of what we needed. What we needed to do was which is what my question. I'm still
Let me
there.
answer that one more directly.
Oh, all righty.
So there has been some conversations. They have not submitted how long it's going to take them, but it's somewhere in the range of about a year from when they get approval to get going. So that's what they were trying to figure out right now is what's the scope, because that's going to determine length. But the conversations that have happened, it's probably about a year. It could be longer, it could be shorter, but it's not anywhere within our time frame.
Okay, thank you for that.
And I would say that, you know, if they do the study within a year, that's traditionally a standard in terms of a research project. But prior to that, they have to get approval from human subjects through Michigan State University to be doing this research, so that may take a month or two to get through that. And then also, prior to that, they have to develop what is the research project. It has to outline the focus, the research questions, the potential individuals or populations that they're going to be sampling and using as part of this study. So there's a lot more to it up front before that 1 year.
Well, just one of the things that I'm aware of that happens at Michigan State here in Flint in the last few years is Dr. Jennifer Johnson is here. And that expedites a lot of things that you're talking about that have been traditional barriers. So they really are tight here about that kind of stuff. And I'm really excited about about Michigan State doing on-the-ground research and available for us, doing the kind of, like, what is it you want, Elizabeth, as a senior citizen? When you go to the centers, they do that. That's what's so exciting. So I would hope that we would do something, but you said that they told you a year? Is that what you said? No, I'm asking.
Yeah, so,
Derek.
they're trying to, they went big picture, and now they're trying to
Right.
focus specifically on what that is.
Yeah.
And as part of that, they're trying to figure out how long. So it could be 8 months, it could be 14
Okay.
months. They have not determined that, but it is somewhere in that length of time of about a year.
So,
Has there been an official ask by the commissioners? That's what I wondered. So,
well, wait,
Let me,
Commissioner Brown did ask.
let me back up. When you say official ask, so there was some conversations between a couple commissioners and Michigan State to put together some kind of proposal. And, official, I don't know what that means. You know what I mean?
like, there was a quorum at a committee meeting saying,
It wasn't, no, that's what,
So that's what I'm wondering, does that need to be part of
The
ours?
part of the process is they reached out for, is there interest in doing a study? And then what would that study be? Ultimately, that information has to come before the entire Board of Commissioners, and then they would have to vote to be able to put that together. So that would be what I would consider the official.
Right. Okay, yeah, that's what I wondered if that was.
So ultimately, we're asking Michigan State to do a needs assessment at the end of the day. Is that what it boils down to?
I mean, this has been good, but none of this has been defined. I mean, it's just all up in the air right now. Until MSU puts together a proposal, the county commissioners don't know how much to appropriate or even the scope of what's going to happen. So our role, again, systemically, we could be recommending that we strongly advocate that they do the survey or the research project with MSU. But we could also be saying that every 3 years, the county commission should be committing resources to update that piece or to expand it or whatever, so that there's a mechanism by which the office and senior services and the commission is getting up-to-date information on a regular basis. I mean, just think of how helpful it would have been for us if at the first meeting, we would have gotten the survey that had been done a year ago, right? And that's not in place. So, again, we've heard folks advocating that we do this. So when you're thinking of your recommendations, think about it that way. Some of us are going to know more details about what we want to see in there, and others of us, like for me, I'm going to say every 3 years, there should be resources, because these are not cheap, and they're never going to get less expensive. But I think it's a valuable tool, data-driven.
But as a task force, you're asking, for this task force, you're saying you would like to have Michigan State do a needs assessment. And I know what you're saying for long-term, maybe it could be done every 3 years or whatever, because that would have been good information to have. I mean, we've got all of this information before us now. But for this task force, what you're asking is that Michigan State be contracted to provide some sort of an in-depth assessment as to the needs of seniors in our community.
A couple of different things, Kathy. I think it's not written in terms of what are we going to recommend in terms of the engagement of Michigan State. As a task force, what are we recommending? I think we need to have that discussion. Is it going to be a research project in which they define specific areas? Because if we look at needs assessment, we already have some needs assessment in the community. You know,
that's
the
my
AAA does an excellent needs assessment. You know, the Greater Flint Health Coalition does a needs assessment. You know, when we looked at some of the presentations and the data, you know, there's data out there from the state of Michigan and the University of Michigan, but that's much more broader and general. You know, it's like Liz says, you know, that School of Public Health is right here in this community, and they can focus on our community, and we can use them as an asset. And because they're in the community, I think they have an invested interest in this community.
So I have one more question for Derek. Can staff pull forward all the information that we've received and say, for an example, that, you know, we know about the wait list and which services are on the wait list, which has the highest numbers that's been submitted to us? Because I think it's important that the service providers are here and they've told us what they've wanted. I mean, we go to senior citizen centers, we know what we want there. So could we then have those numbers pulled forward and then begin to have a conversation ourselves? Like, is transportation the largest issue for an area, or is transportation the lowest issue for an area? I mean, not just transportation in Genesee County, but what areas is transportation more needed? Because when I hear that Greater Flint Health Coalition does assessments, Valley Area Agency does assessments, Michigan State may be doing an assessment, I'm wondering, do we need to get some of those monies here? Or why are we here? Because I don't want to be redundant. I really think the service providers sincerely care about the seniors that they serve. It's just that all of our seniors aren't the same, and we're certainly not all the same ages. And I think, and we aren't in the same geographies, and that presents different needs. So if we could just zero in on what's come forward to us, respect the things that they've shared with us, and, I mean, if it's food that's needed, is it food service that's needed in-home or delivered or at the centers? I mean, those are the three areas we're looking at in terms of food. Is physical needs specifically needed for seniors over a certain age or in a certain geography? I mean, I think we should just see what numbers come forward, because I haven't looked at it that way. I just thought about that now while I'm sitting here.
I know there's some top priorities. You know, I hear in terms of transportation, I hear in terms of case management, I hear in terms of grant writing as broad, general things. The transportation issue, you know, one thing which I think as a task force we need to also be cognizant of is what is existing in the community right now and not duplicate that. You know, MTA gets a lot of money from the federal government, from my personal perspective, and yet there's a very low accountability for that type of service. You know, I hear stories of seniors being left at physician practices, you know, and nobody coming to pick them up, you know.
So, Richard, can we, great points, all of these. I'm wondering if what we can do is figure out what is it that we'd like staff yet to do, but what is our homework going to be between this meeting and the next meeting? We started talking about this form. And I just want to say, you know, whatever we come up with, it's all going to be good and okay, right? I mean, there's no judgment on any of this, because some of us are picking up points that are, I think, maybe more personal or noticeable to you because this is what your lived life has been like, versus another piece. I'm clearly feeling like, you know, the schism between maybe centers and service providers is a false dichotomy. Everybody's a service provider. So how do we look at it in the context of the whole? I've got questions yet, and I feel like I can raise the questions as recommendations, because I don't feel like I've gotten enough information in certain areas. So maybe we can go to how you want us to work on this between now and the next meeting?
What I was envisioning was that each of us write what we feel is a proposal, more than one proposal or two or three proposals.
Recommendations.
Or recommendations for a proposal for a recommendation. And that the county will collect these, they will group them by themes, and will send out the documents, and that prior to the next meeting, we review those documents and then come together and try and formulate from those documents one consistent recommendation for each item.
Okay, well, okay.
And also, you know, in terms of it, I put in terms of the proposed, proposal number, and that we can number, 1 through whatever, if we have 20, 25 different proposals, that can be recorded there, who submitted the proposal, what is, the proposed recommendation statement, what are we stating that would like to see in a formal final recommendation, and what is the rationale, the supporting evidence for that, and then also trying to do this potential volume, potential risk assessment.
So this is a task force. And you do put us in the professor-student situation. So I like I appreciate what you said. And I still would like to know if Brad has staff available that can lift up some of the things that have been documented, as well as some of the things that the service providers themselves have said, this is what I need for the people that I serve. Because I think that's what we're here for, is what is it that you want for the people that you serve? At least that's what I thought the task was. I, Elizabeth, do not want to go home and take the assignment that you just gave me, because I was looking for Michigan State to do that somehow. I think we should ask for more time. I don't think we should say we can synthesize all that we've received this quick to paper, because I just don't think I can. And I am deeply interested in this. Very, very interested in this. But I don't know what's needed in certain geographical areas, and I think that's very important. We can't just say at-home services are needed in Genesee County and we want $2 million put in that. And I don't know where you're going to get it from the millage, but find it, and that's what we need. Because if money's not attached to it, there's not going to be any change, to my opinion, because I think most of the things I've heard is money's attached to it. When I asked for my adopted son over there, that was money attached to those things, apart from his heart, and the directors are expected to do the money part of it and the heart part of it. And I think the data has been just powerful. I love the large print. I don't have to wear my glasses. And I'm appreciative to all of it. And I hope that it gets to the Gloria Coles Public Library and it gets to Michigan State. So it doesn't just stay here. Let the whole community know that this is available. But I still think I think the data has to be lifted up specifically. I don't want to tell MTA, you're not doing what I want you to do. I mean, if we go to their board meeting, that would be fine, or invite them to come over. Because there are things, my car was broken and I was left at a doctor's office.
Maybe we should hear from others.
Can I just review what's in you were asking about data, so I just wanted to respond.
All of the data you've given, I can't even carry it anymore.
I know you can't. So let me just walk through what's in front of you right here, just so that the group all understands. There has been a lot of data given out over the meetings. This is everything. So if you had a thing from 2 meetings ago, or 3 meetings ago, or 4 meetings ago, everything that you've been given is in this packet. So Gwen and Teresa in our office did a nice job of just really trying to give one package of information. The second part that I wanted to say is, with the request to get information from the service providers, which are stakeholders, we got from more than just are here that talked today, we got their information. And then we went through, and when it said something specifically to need, we pulled those out, and there's a summary in here of every one of those needs that popped up that a service provider said, for example. If it said, we have a waiting list of whatever and we need more funding for this. So we went through and as staff, did our best, right? To try and go through it's a lot of pages, so we tried to kernelize it down into just those needs. So there's a summary in here of all the information that's been provided on needs. So I just want to make sure, because I know it's a lot of work to go through this as a task force member. So we're trying our best just to kind of simplify it down to what's here. So that's what you have in front of you today.
I've been trying to look at things a little differently, and I'm thinking of the people that are on the waiting list, and I think they want some action, and they don't want to wait. And I'm thinking of all of this expertise, all of our friends out here that have that knowledge, that maybe we could take the next step would be to get together with them, small tables, pick a certain area that is a major concern, and we'll deal with it in different areas. Like, for example, if the transportation is a problem, then all those that are having transportation problems, we get together on that. And we look at how best to solve the transportation problem. We have the opportunity to say to the community that there's, and I think we have an obligation to educate the community about the problems of seniors facing today, every day. And then if we bring that problem and a solution, then we can go to the community and say, hey, can you help us solve this problem? Can you help provide transportation? The kind of people and what that kind of person is going to be that's going to go and provide the transportation, the conditions, and say, we have the money. You develop a plan, and we'll solve that part of the problem. And let's do that with the different areas that have been highlighted. And instead of trying to let the commissioners deal with it, and just, voting on something they're not familiar with, that a little bit of teamwork, I think, and focus on these problems, take the next meeting, or in the time between now and the next meeting.
So, Russ, could I make a suggestion? I think that that's certainly an idea worth exploring. But in terms of a recommendation, that might be something that you could recommend that be housed in the Office of Senior Services as an ongoing function of identifying problems and convening the community service providers and senior centers to do problem solving. Not the role of the task force necessarily. Task force, by definition, have a task and they finish it and then they're dissolved. Not an ongoing role. So I would ask you to think about that in terms of a recommendation.
I'm just thinking about it from the persons out there that are waiting. I've been in their shoes.
I think all of us, Russ, has been in their shoes in one way or another, but part of the reality I see, my personal perspective, is that there's only so much money that's coming from the millage. And that millage is not a stable factor. As the values of houses decrease in these communities, that's going to impact that millage and decrease that fund. I mean, one of the recommendations that I was going to put forth is that there be some grant writing, because we've heard from these stakeholders that they have to supplement funding with grants. That millage, I think this community is very blessed to have that amount of money that we do have, but I don't think it's a stable resource for us. It's going to change. just as the needs of the community changes. So going back, do we want to ask the commission for more time to look at this? Yes. Knowing that it's going to impact their budget process, because I think that's why they, set out this timeline for us. My understanding is, the fiscal year for Genesee County is October 1st through September 30th, or?
Yeah, let me talk about timeline real quick.
Okay.
So the county budget gets approved in, don't pin me down to a date, but finalized late August, early September, right in that range. Offices and departments submit their budgets that process starts in end of May, 1st of June, right? So that's why that June, that's when the budget process actually starts. My suggestion would be about deadlines and timelines. I think we'll have a better indication of that in May. We have 2 more meetings to go, and plus, we could still do another one before our deadline, so it doesn't mean that we can't say, we met on this week, we'll meet in a week or 2 weeks to add an additional meeting. But I think with recommendations, if staff can get recommendations before the meeting, so that we can start to kind of put those together, and we can still add additional recommendations to that meeting, right? So if you didn't necessarily have one, maybe once those recommendations are all presented, you're like, oh, okay, here's another one, right? But I think if we can hit the ground running at the next meeting with a series of recommendations from this group, I think we're in okay shape to be able to deliver something that allow us the next meeting to kind of work through the recommendations. We still have another meeting in May, right? So if that could run over into May, ultimately, I would feel that this group probably is pretty doable, that by the time we hit May, we'd have that finished. And that might be that then you assign staff to go put it all together and make it look pretty and come back. So that we just want to make sure there's time for people to read stuff before there's a recommendation from this group to go to the county board. But I would say I would hold off on changing timelines at this point. I think with the chair's suggestion of let's start putting some stuff down on paper, I think that's probably the best step. And then from there, we can see what we need to adjust.
I just have one question. Are all the senior millage budget service providers all not-for-profit? Or anybody a for-profit agency? We don't know that?
We can research that. I'm not sure.
I would like to know that.
Okay.
think
I was
that's-
under the assumption that they were all nonprofits, but
Well, I would just like to know that,
Yeah.
please.
I know a good healthy amount is, but I wouldn't want to say definitively without checking.
Okay, thank you.
I want to speak to the form as a draft. I like the idea of the proposed recommendation. I'm not so keen on the rationale, although if people have rationale that prompts them to say, this is why I recommend this, then I would do that. Can we look to put the volume potential risk to being just high, medium, low? Because when you start splitting hairs, sometimes that gets to be more of a barrier than it does a help. And it may very well be that if you have passion about a recommendation, that all of your rankings are gonna be high, because that's why you're recommending it, right? So I'm just trying to offer some modifications, so this is a useful tool for you in terms of thinking about recommendations. Richard wants to make this available in a Word doc, which is fine, right?
No.
it can be either a Word doc or it can be handwritten.
There you
Whatever
go.
people
Yeah.
want to use. If,
Are we to do one recommendation per page?
one recommendation.
Per service or per
page.
category or?
And then
Yeah.
the other perspective is, if each of us are doing this, there may be 3 recommendations on transportation. So the staff would pull those 3 together. We would review those and see if we could do some sort of movement towards a final recommendation, you know?
And we could do something just kind of playing off what Russ was talking about, though. You were talking about getting, and we'll work some things through with the chair and the vice chair before the meeting. But we could potentially just break into some smaller tables and kind of work on some stuff and then kind of bring some stuff together, so.
The task force.
The task force, to your point. We could do it potentially in a different room that allows maybe 3 or 4 task force members to take a look at the list. Who do we need to add, change, and then kind of bring some stuff together. I think there's some opportunities in there that we could, given some time, we can think through that.
There's other things that I think haven't been brought to the table. These are things that happen in industry, particularly General Motors that was here, the UAW. We went through a different model. They work by a different model than the government does. And that's one that you use immediate feedback. You solve problems, because if you don't, you're going to have bad parts. You're going to lose millions of dollars. So you have to solve the problems quickly. And in our case, we have people that are suffering right now. If we don't deal with their problem, they may die or cause more problems to the medical system, to the hospitals, and so forth. If we can prevent those things, then we can help to solve other problems in the community. The prevention is one of those big things. If you prevent, you save a lot of money. And Ben Franklin said it a long time ago, an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure.
I think we can look at those things, but, you know, my personal perspective is, of my role on this task force, is to try and facilitate us to coming to some recommendations. Those may be part of that format of recommendations. I'm looking at a deadline, but I also want to have everybody at this table to have a voice. Because again, we each bring different perspectives. We're each representing a community within a community, and we need for that. But then also, as Sandra mentioned earlier, we need to come to some sort of consensus. I think, you know, one of our first recommendations is that this task force continues on. You know, it may not be the same players, but this process needs to continue on.
And I would say, okay, and we'll talk about that. Because my need is. Yeah, okay.
Just a little point of information. We think about budgets and money as being a fixed amount. It's not. We think about there being only so much coming down from taxes, from the government and so forth. It's more like a stream that we can tap into. It's there, needed to. There are monies available, and if you look at it from that point of view, there are monies from foundations, there's money from the universities, there's money from individuals who will donate. There are service organizations that gladly go out and perform a dinner and make money to help seniors. We have resources and monies available that we can draw on. We just have to indicate there's a need and a plan, and I think that money will show up. Instead of saying it's fixed, it's not.
Yeah, and to your point, Russ, I agree. Like, one of my things and something that came out loud and clear from not only the senior centers, but also the service providers, was grant writers. I mean, the one lady spoke, I mean, she's written 20 grants in a year. I mean, not everyone has that capability. I mean, everybody has the ability to do it, but not everyone has the capability to do it. So, I mean, that is definitely gonna be one of my recommendations, is that, you know, we find a way to get grant writers for everyone, for all entities.
Well, that might be beneficial for the entire county.
Exactly.
If there's
Absolutely.
Yeah, if the county does not have embedded into their admin a grant department, really.
Right.
That's unfortunate, but somebody's writing grants to
Yeah.
other governmental entities, so how does that get expanded to include this population? And, yeah.
Absolutely. I
agree.
mean, to Russ's point, the money's there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just in this one pot that we're looking at. It's there. You just need to know how to go ask for it to get it. It's like college kids writing for scholarships. I mean, this is no different.
And I totally agree. I thought that's what we've heard over and over and over again, is money. And the county is, you know, having its population depreciation along with the state, the schools, et cetera. And I think the other thing that is, I'm real curious about duplication of research. I thought I heard multiple times, certain agencies are doing some of the same things that we've been asked to do. And I just want to know how we can collaborate. I guess that's the choice word, is to collaborate on that, because if there's $3 in a pot and 5 people want it from Genesee County or Flint, why are we doing it that way? And I think that is happening. I think we've actually documented that that's happening. And I need that to come up in here. Because if my agency is doing research and is providing, I'm going to say meals. I'm going to just use meals because I think that's really something that we like to gather for socialization, is around meals. And obviously there's those of us that need cooks. Or if multiple agencies that are not present in our research that is doing that, we're competing for the same money, and I don't want us to do that. And I'll reiterate, I think we are. And I didn't see that come forward, and you can help me understand that better. I mean, maybe you can call me Derek and help me understand that better. And how do we say that? How do we say that and not step on somebody's toes? You know, because I've been here, I've been doing this, you know. And I don't think the community understands that. I mean, we have a millage going on right here, but they have funds coming in too. And does that leave me unserved by any chance with multiple entities doing the same things? Am I losing services? And I think I am, is my feeling. And I think, Derek, you can help me better understand that. Or maybe all of us. Or maybe that's what we want to do with the small table conversation. Maybe we feel more comfortable in saying, is there duplication of services? You know, I'm talking about administrative, you know, what's happening at the administrators, you know, and how many cars are there when my senior citizen center needs a car or a minivan or whatever it is. That's why I keep saying geography. Are things needed more in a certain geography than others? I mean, we can say meal services and home services, and for me, I want more physical activity. Is that just at one geography area, or is that affecting the whole county? Because when we say the whole county, I don't think that's a fair picture. I think different centers provide different things because that's what their seniors ask for. It doesn't mean that nutrition should be offered everywhere, because I don't know that nutrition is actually needed at every center. I mean, I don't know why I keep talking about food. Maybe I just need some chocolate cookies. I don't know.
Want a cookie? There's some
I know
cookies
you
down
do.
there.
It's just, but I
By the
really
way,
want us.
raisin cookies, not chocolate. Raisin.
Oh, as he wanted. Okay, I'm getting that. So I really think that that's what you know, I love the data, but sometimes I think we need to just peel on those, the skin of the grapefruit, the pink grapefruit, a little closer about the money, because I think that's what everybody wants, is more money, but will more money get more services to me? And I can't say yes to that.
I agree with you, because I have that same question. Will more money fix everything? And I don't think it will.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about duplicate, what we have right now.
I think that,
If we
you
just
know,
look at it right now.
My personal perspective is that we've been given a lot of information. I've also questioned, is there duplication? Is there waste that's occurring in this? And I don't think we've got, you know, the time to drill that down. Because I think once we start peeling those layers, there's going to be a whole layer of more questions that we will want to ask. So,
Again, a recommendation, how do large systematic ways or organizations put in place monitoring service delivery, quality control, not duplication of services? So, you know, that's a possible recommendation.
So let me ask just on the timeline. So what I'm hearing is, and I'm just trying to make sure that staff understands what our next steps are. We can work, if the committee wants, with the chair and vice chair to tweak this form a bit. I heard there's a couple tweaks.
Yeah.
We'll work through what those couple tweaks are. Then as staff, we can provide this form. And if you want us to drop off paper copies, we can drop off paper copies. If you don't want them emailed, or if you want them, however we need to get you copies. We prefer email, but we'll work with you on that. And then we'll work on what a deadline is to get information back, and we can do that same process. Then staff, we just need a little bit of time before the next meeting to be able to put it all together. And then we can have that, so before the next meeting, everybody will be able to see, before you come to that meeting, here's some of the recommendations that people are talking about. And then we'll convene the next meeting, potentially in a different location. We'll work on that and work with the chair and the vice chair about how that kind of works to put those recommendations together. Is that our task? Yes?
is that agreeable? So-
Okay.
I'd just like to say something. A lot of times when there's change in organizations, people become fearful because they worry about their job description or something changing. And I think we say up front that as a result of what we're doing, we're not trying to streamline and get rid of people who are serving now, but we're trying to find just a better way to utilize everybody without changing their income, but maybe changing what they do for more efficiency. And to actually solve problems quicker instead of postponing them while people make decisions. But I just think we need to remove the element of fear that maybe it doesn't exist. But in other organizations, I've seen this whenever there's change. And remove that element and let all the providers know that they're part of the team. And we need their help.
Well, hopefully we did that by trying to include them today, you know. And, you know, if this continues on, the task force continues on, I think we need to look at different models in which we can have more stakeholder input in terms of, you know, what they're seeing. Because, you know, they're out there living it every day. They're trying to, you know, put the Band-Aid on. They're trying to make the miracle happen. And, you know, we commend you, people out there who are doing that.
Did you have a comment?
Yes, I'd like to suggest or request that we hear from invite them to a meeting, the MTA, for instance. They're changing their programs. They're getting rid of their large buses and converting more to smaller buses. They're gonna be using AI to do their route planning. So routes can be planned and changed in seconds to send vehicles where they need to. So I think, because I hear transportation is a big problem. And so I think we should hear from them how they might be able to assist us or what the future holds for that particular transportation sector. Also, we talk about meals. And, we have organizations here, providers that provide meals, but we also in our community have soup kitchens that provide meals, they're cooking food, they're preparing food for people in that local community. But if we can get some of that food to those people close to home, then, or close to those facilities, then that may be something that we can do. And the Food Bank of Eastern Michigan may be able to help. I know they do help to a certain extent with fresh fruits and vegetables, I think, at the senior centers. But also, there are retired professional organizations. So you get a group of lawyers or a group of accountants, and they're retired, and they meet and they assist other people throughout their communities. And I think we need to reach out to that type of organizations as well, to help fill some gaps and take people off of wait lists so that they can get the help that they need sooner rather than later. Those are just some of my recommendations, if we could invite some of those people in to speak to us as well.
Well, I'm going to suggest, Mike, that you'd look at the information that's here that we've received. And I'm aware of all of those organizations that you've just talked about. At this point, I don't know that we're on a time frame where we can invite other speakers in. You could make that a recommendation, though, that the future task force look at this. One of the things I think we have struggled with from the get-go is the granular focus of this work versus the bigger picture. So, and I know for myself, it's hard not to get into the weeds sometimes about trying to solve the problem. Because those are solutions that I would hope the senior center person, the person who's the CEO and their program management staff would have already explored, but may not be the purview of this task force. But again, formulate that in terms of a recommendation.
Okay.
And bring it forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Is there any additional, we're hitting our time limit for our meeting, any additional discussion?
We'll be getting a different, a condensed or
Or modified,
final version.
An
Will we be-
an updated version.
So we'll get this in an email?
Yes.
Is this packet available digitally as well as in this large paper format?
Yes, so everything that's in here is currently in the same spot where you get all your agendas and all that other stuff. So it's all on the website.
Okay.
There was a request that sometimes it's easier to flip through stuff, so that's why it's here. So it's already all electronic.
Great, thank
Yep.
you.
Can I get a motion that we close our meeting for today?
Or-
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much.